I did it. I went back and saw the 2022 horror film X. Should you? Come see. Welcome to Fantasy for the Ages. I'm Jim, the father of this father-son show where we talk about fantasy, science fiction, horror, and other nerdy things. Today I'm leaning into horror, and I hope that's why you're here. If you enjoy this episode, be sure to give us a like, and if you haven't subscribed yet, we sure hope you will. X. Let's talk about this movie. It's the first of a 3-film horror series. Released in March of 2022, it was followed the same year, about 6 months later, by the prequel, Pearl, which I have reviewed in a recent episode already because I actually saw that one first. Then there's another sequel waiting for me now, Maxine, which came out earlier this year, 2024. I'm going to watch that soon. All of these films are directed by Ty West and star Mia Goth, with an additional cast of characters that change in each of the films. A big part of why there are 3 films in this series is the way X injects a blend of modern, edgy film sensibility into a horror movie with intense, graphic kills that pull no punches. The fresh approach used here led this film, produced on the very modest film budget of just $1 million, to gross just over $15 million worldwide. Now, that's not exactly blockbuster standards, but for the niche horror market, that's pretty decent. And there's nothing to sneeze at when your investment is multiplied by 15. Just what is this movie all about? Spoiler-Lite. Where Pearl, the prequel, presents as more of a psychological horror story, X leans more into the slasher vibe. Pearl does an exceptional job recreating the vibe of the late 19 teens. In X, our primary setting is the same farm location, but now in the 1970s. And once again, although this was actually the first time since this movie really came first in the series, the movie brings back many touches direct from the 70s to the screen, from attire to speech to attitude. It feels very authentic. In a nutshell, X is the story of 5 people heading out to a rural farm site where they've rented a cottage, an outbuilding on the property, under false pretenses. The head of this group made the arrangements over the phone with this extremely elderly gentleman, the owner of the farm, and he never referenced he'd be bringing other people with him. So the old dude's not happy with this 5 people now showing up on his private rural space. But they managed to smooth things over with the owner, though he's still none too happy. And he'd be even less happy if he knew why they were actually here. They're shooting a porn flick. The owner finds out and then goes off on a killing rampage. No. That is not what happens. Well, not quite. But suffice it to say that their artistic choices, porno, do lead to a whole bunch of graphic kills. Just, it's different than you might think of how that comes about. To find out exactly how and why, well, you're going to need to watch the film, because, like I said, spoiler-lite. Now, here's some takeaway thoughts I have after watching X. First, when you've seen a good number of slashers over the years, like I have, you can become a bit jaded and bored by the kills. Yeah, not these. These kills are pretty cool, and the effects were impressive. Not cool as in outrageous and unbelievable. Just cool. Does that make me disturbing? I don't know, but if you're into horror films and you see this, you know what I'm talking about. Now, next point, while the kills included exceptional special effects, at the same time, they were mostly telegraphed. You pretty much see the maimings and kills coming. But honestly, the kills are almost an afterthought in this film. The jump scares, the freaky moments, they're really elsewhere in the movie as the plot rolls along, setting you quite uneasy in a most delightful way. This is where the creativity of the script writing, I believe, comes in. And then the kills are just, like, Well, I guess we aren't a slasher after all, so let's kill some people. My next point, the movie definitely recreates the vibe of an independent porn film. Not that I have any experience with such a thing, but as I've seen them portrayed in other movies, not porn movies, in other movies where, that's part of the plot that they're doing a porno or whatever. And what I've read about the past of this time in the 70s, it seems to really have some authentic feel again. And the cast and crew, they seem to have a great time recreating this stereotypical 70s porno. It could be all stereotyped. Like I said, I don't have any direct experience here, but it just had a really genuine feel. Oh, and for the record, while there certainly was plenty of nudity in this film, and there was plenty of suggested sex occurring, they didn't actually show any sex in the movie. Again, it's a horror film. It is not a porn flick. That's not so easy to do, to have they're filming a porn film as part of your film and yet not make it, they didn't cross the line. They were very tasteful. Next, while this is much more a slasher horror film, the psychological element is still very real, which helps make sense the progression to go do a prequel of Pearl that really leans into the psychological horror, because psychological horror is part of this movie too. Aspects of the film actually reminded me of the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre. If you know, you know. I can't really go into details beyond just stating that. My final takeaway would be that I particularly enjoyed seeing one of the actors, Jenna Ortega, in this film. And she was spectacular. Great performance. This came out just 2 months after her key role in Scream, which is the fifth installment in the Scream franchise, kind of a soft reboot, and 8 months before she would become a phenomenon in the role of Wednesday on Netflix, which is a very different role than she plays in this film. My recommendation, if you appreciate a well-crafted horror film that leans into the terror of the real, I mean, there's nothing supernatural in this film, but it's still plenty terrifying, then this film could be for you. However, if you are squeamish, this could indeed gross you out in some of the scenes. They, like I said, don't pull any punches. But hey, you can always skip those parts if you need it, right? That's where I'll leave you for today. If you've seen X and have thoughts, put them down in the comment box. If you agree with me, if you disagree with me, if you just want to talk a little bit more about a movie you really enjoyed or took things away from, I'll respond to every comment that I see. And look down when you're looking to do comments, the show notes. It gives you the other ways you can interact with Zach and I, our Discord, our social media links, even our email. Thanks for watching. We'll talk to you next time.